All right, you guys, look what just came in the mail yesterday. Yes, yesterday it was quite a day for mail. This is from Bob Demick. He operates and owns OTWdesigns.com. He makes the most high-end and scale-accurate submarines on the market. And keep in mind that all his submarines are done old school. In other words, this entire hull you're looking at here is made by hand. That is to say that using templates, bulkheads, and different compounds that he likes to work with. He works with a particular type of wood, which I have since forgotten the name of. He actually hand makes the master that you're seeing here. He makes this hull shape, and it is dead accurate, as you can tell just by the reflections on it, the contouring, the beautiful work that's been done. There's lots of panel lines and rivets in it that you can just make out because there's a beautiful gel coat on it. All these holes here have to be cut away. A lot of work has to be done. You'll see that there's beautiful rivets work done and plating work done on the sail, or conning tower, if that's what you like to call it. And this is a R Class British sub, hunter killer sub. In other words, there's the torpedo openings, doors. And this was a submarine designed in World War II, I believe, in 1913. Yes, 1913. It was very fast underwater. In fact, it held a speed record that wasn't broken until I think the 30s with a Japanese submarine. It was very fast underwater. It was a hunter-killer submarine. In other words, it was designed to hunt and kill other submarines, and this was in 1913. This was the forerunner of all the hunter and killers to come after. You can go on the internet and look up a lot of material on it, and of course as I talk about it, you're seeing some of the pictures of the actual submarine. It's a very unusual subject. Bob is known for doing unusual subjects, and he's got a number of them ranging from less unusual boats like the Type 7, which I have a very large version of. It's not his model, but the same size, to even the X-boat, which was the submarines made during World War II that were used for special missions that only carried 3-4 men, and they would use them to go under the hulls of German battleships and other ships and sink them in the harbor. He's got the Type 23, which was a coastal boat, many other, but you see the link on the screen. You go to OTWdesigns.com and have a look. His stuff is just beautiful. And the other thing that's so good about his submarines and makes them the very best, in my opinion, is the drive system, which is bulletproof. I've used them. I built them for a number of customers. They are excellent, excellent systems. He uses a very simple system of pumping water in and out of the boat to the ballast tank. And the electronics that are on board for the auto leveling and fail-safe work flawlessly. I mean, I've lost signal in pools and I have gone straight to the bottom, and they will come right back up automatically to the surface without any problem. And unlike other systems that may have a problem going too deep and not being able to get air back into the tanks, this system, using water pumping out to sea, works flawlessly every time and gets it back to the surface. I've never ever had a permanently sunk boat. So his drive units, and he has a couple different ones, are just excellent. Go check them out. This one will have one of his drive units or dive systems in it shortly. He's putting it together for me now. So what I have is the first kit of the R Class submarine, the R-10. So let's take a look inside. Now you can see how well the two halves fit together, even before I put the pins in it, and probably magnets as well is what I'm going to use to keep the top down. But it's a beautiful, beautiful fit. Bob uses hard molds, not silicone molds, to make his boats, and uses the old school methods on that, using polyester and matte and filler, of course. But he does beautiful layups They're just gorgeous. Those are the plans for the boat, and here's the bits that go with it. Now, these are, also this has got a beautiful contour under here up to this lip, very even all the way. And this is really a class act casting. You'll notice that there's not a lot of shiny areas because he squeegees it out and makes it very dry and clean. Likewise, the surface detail is beautiful. And with the thing about, you can CNC or print a boat like this, but it's going to look absolutely perfect. And they lose life. Bob and I were talking about it this morning, but they just lose a sense. They just don't have any soul. It's like the old saying, drum machines have no soul, and that's certainly true. When you CNC something like this and make it absolutely perfect, then you're going to want to go in and rough it up to make it look like it was put together by human hands. It gives it scale, it gives it life. And the advantage to him doing these boats by hand is that they already have those little bits of ripples and a little bit of, the weld lines are a little bit not so perfect in areas, just the way it is on a really handmade full-size submarine. So it really makes it look like a real submarine. And it is a real submarine because it's going to dive and surface just like a real submarine. So I'm pulling out the different bits that I have for now. There's some more items on the way, but this is pretty much the kit. Now somewhere in here, these are the masts, which are already pre-cut, and because it includes that. Here we've got the Kingston valves, the tower hatch, and the brushes. Now the brushes here, you can see, are for, well, I'll show you. Now here we have the two front guide planes. We've got the guards for them, and we have the two rudders and drop skeg. So what's great about Bob's kits is that they're pretty much all done for you, and he's already got stainless steel placed inside the actual plane itself, so you don't have to do that. Now this is the bearing. These get placed inside the hull, and then you have a very, very smooth operating dive plane and or rudder. So that's what those are for, and I believe the kit includes those as well. There are some extras here he gave me. There are things you have to order separate for the kit, but he does include of course, the dive planes, the guards. Here's the rear rudder plane in bits, as he puts it. Very British. So you can see there's the rudders. They are scale. Everything on the ship is scale. I know some of you would probably like to replace the rudders with larger ones so you have greater turning radius. I prefer to keep the boat scale and just make wider turns the way the real thing did. So we have that there. Here's a whole bunch of metal parts that go on the deck. You'll recognize that one right there, and I believe there's an anchor in here somewhere. Billiards. Okay, it's a bunch. I have to go and check these against the plan to know what's what exactly, but I love it. These little parts are beautiful, Bob, just fantastic. These are metal casts. These already have the brass in them. Also metal cast. This is, I would believe, these are to be placed on the planes for the rear dive planes. I'm not quite sure. Bob told me a lot of details. There's a capstan, I believe. He told me I have to go back over my notes, but these look like hookup points for control rod arm. Now here's the railings, which they look like they're stainless steel to me, and these are to be bent around for the handholds, or where the hand rails that go around here. Bob, these are fantastic. These, of course, are for the railing that goes around the conning tower, and these are nice brass fittings that you place the railing through. And once you get these placed in and feed it through, you're done in a second. These are fantastic. I'm not sure that he offers these in the kit. I think these are extra, something that you have to order as extra. I'm not completely clear on what this part is, but I think it goes in the, I think that's the compass. I believe this goes inside the conning tower. I could be wrong, but I think it does, which is really nice. I just love the way the little brass pieces in there. It's fantastic that he does all this for you so that you can just enjoy building the boat, not have scratch build a bunch of little parts. And likewise, these bits are fantastic. Bob, you'll have to remind me if these come with the kit or these are extra, but these go on top of the sail. And what's great about these fit into the base of the sail. In other words, the deck down here. This gets cut out. The people would stand down in here and look over the edge. So we've got a floor down here that these fit into, much like a Type 7 or other boats of that era. Type 7 was World War II, but from the era of the early boats. This is World War I, but just look how beautiful it is. I just sat that in there temporarily, and of course you got a nice movement, so if you want to have these scopes come up and down and masts, you can. And here's the other parts that he made for the other two masts that go on top. Look how beautifully those are made. They're just gorgeous, polished, just beautiful work. I am so honored to have one of these boats. This is just going to be the pride of the fleet. Going back over here, we also have our anchor, and the anchor is beautiful. It actually pivots, and it looks like it's made out of brass, but I can't be sure. That is fantastic. I mean, normally this is part of the casting, and this is clearly separate, and just beautiful. I mean, what a neat anchor that is. And it makes me want to actually put a servo, a waterproof servo in there, and make the anchor function, as well as making the mast going up and down functional. And I'm definitely thinking about how that can be done. I don't think it's that hard. It's been done plenty of times before. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. As you can see, there's not a lot to build. But as you look at the pictures I put up from time to time, you'll notice, or I'll put them up at the end of the video, that, you know, it's going to be very weathered, very gray, lots of rust bits, lots of holes. These are all the holes, deck holes that have to be cut down here. There's drains on the bottom as well that will have to be cut for the drainage. You have to install the dive planes, the rudders, the guards. This is the stuffing box for the prop shaft. Now this it's going to have a four-bladed prop also inbound. The prop is beautiful. I think Bob, you showed me a picture. Maybe that was the three-blade one, but it does have a four-bladed propeller, which I'm sure will be just gorgeous. This is the brass work for the sail / tower. Of course, this is the floor to the conning tower or bridge, and this goes on the back, and this goes to the front. I'll give you an idea here of how this all goes together. Okay, so that fits like so. And of course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away all of this, and this way this will all be free flooding just like the real thing is. This part goes here, and it does fit. I tried last night. It fits on there rather well. You just have to get it past that lip. And this part, as you can see, it's smaller, but that's because it goes down here. So inside there will be a lip in there that this attaches to, and this will also be free flooding. And you can see that these mass base go appropriately like so in here. I have to look at the plans, but I believe that's one spot, that's another spot, and I'm not quite sure where the third one goes yet. Okay, here's the plans, and I'm sorry I got it wrong. It was 1918, but the actual boat was ordered in 1917, and you can see clearly here that they were used from 1918 to 1934. And you can see the size of it here. 6 bow torpedoes, single hull, all ballast tanks internal. Pretty sophisticated boat for 1918. 18. If you look back here, you can see there's the dual rudders, and the rudders are right here, so we got a lot of room to work with for hooking those up. And now I recognize what a couple of those parts are in there for. And they're for the rudder hookups. And here we've got the rear dive planes, and what you're seeing from the side are these rather large guards on them. Now back here we're going to have not a lot of room to work with to operate these, but they're going to be operated from the outside, but you won't see them because they'll be pretty much hidden by the guards. And here's the guard for the rudders too. So we got two guards there as well. And looking from the top here, you can see here's our mast and their mast locations. Now I recognize what these ventilation pipes are for. Those go back here. That's what those three. See, when you look at the plans, and there's the hatch, which I believe we also have. And also he shows you where all the vents go. And of course he gave you all the valves for that to place on top. Boy, now I'm looking at this, it's really all coming clear to me. The fender, is that something? No, it's not something that's part of the boat. And then we got the bilge keel here. And of course, looking here, you can see how the tower is shaped. Let's see if there's any other stuff that I didn't recognize. Oh, here's the anchor access point. I really got to make that anchor move work. And here's some he calls them bow shutters. Well, the shutters for the torpedoes. Here's the front dive planes, the hydrophone, anchor access, some limber holes here. There's some venting under here that has to be put in. There's a Kingston valve that goes here, Kingston valves that go here. The exhaust is right here. There's going to be some things that I think I'm going to have to make up here, and I think these are going to be one of them, because I don't think those were included with the kit, and nor are they part of the hull. So, but this is a pretty simple matter to do this. Okay, well you get a feel for this, and what has to be built, what has to go on this model. I mean, it's not a great deal of work. These hatches can be made to be opened, which I might do just for fun. There's the vise, and I'm not sure if this thing had nav lights or not. I'd sure like to light it up if I could. Here's a Samson post, which we know I have, and that's what the little objects are with the brass in them already. This boat has it all. This is really, 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 really. Here's the other Samson post here, and this is just so helpful to have all this. And of course the propeller goes right here on the end, making this very much a bullet design, I'll tell you. This is really, really, really helpful. You really don't need instructions for this boat. If you've built a radio controlled submarine before, you're not going to have any problem. It's very well laid out. Once you see the dive system for this, it lays inside very easily. You just have to have a couple of bulkheads for it to mount it in place. This is just a fantastic boat, Bob. This is your latest boat. This is the latest boat from OTW Designs. I don't even believe it's available yet, but it will be very shortly. You can certainly write to Bob right now and tell him, I want one of these boats. And I just really got to thank you so much for sending us one of these to evaluate, to review, to build, and to operate, because you're going to see the whole process done right here. You're going to see everything from being built to being tested in the water and then taken out to a lake and ran as a real submarine, and we'll mount a camera on it so you can see it underwater and all that kind of stuff. So this is really going to be a fun and unique build for SNG, because for the longest time we've been doing spaceships and props and Star Trek stuff, and that's what you guys are used to seeing me doing. But I have a pretty long background of working in radio-controlled submarines, and I've built a lot of them. Another thing is, if you're interested in radio-controlled submarines, there's only one place to go, in my opinion, and that's the subcommittee. Subcommittee.com. You'll remember the R-10. We talked about it yesterday, and that's this big submarine from World War I, a British hunter-killer. Let's go take a look at the pictures he sent. Now, Bob sent me an email because I asked him what the wood was he used, and he says, "Hi Steve, the wood is gelaton, not gelatin, gelatung, classified as a hardwood, but quite soft, no knots, and related to rubber trees, brilliant for patterns." I've never worked with this. I remember you telling me about it, Bob, but this is what he makes his patterns out of, and he uses bulkhead cross sections, templates, whatever you like to call them, to get the contours correctly. Now we're going to go and scroll up here, and I'm going to show you the pictures. Now this is the original pattern, and you can see it's wood. Really, really nice material. I'd love to work with this. Now keep in mind, this is not CNC'd. This is done by hand and hand shaping alone. Let's see, we'll go to the next one. Can we go to the next one? We can actually zoom in on this too, and you can get a better idea of what that wood looks like. So, and I can go to the next one, so I'm going to do that. Got the wheel up, and now you can see just you can see the plotting for the rivet detail. He's been using cardboard for the hatches, looks like, or some sort of thick printing paper, which is very clever. These are all things I used to do, and I've built a number of scratch build jets and the submarines myself. Here's the beginning of the sail or tower. Again, this is, there we go. This is all formed and shaped. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, you know, CNC is great. You know, I think it's terrific, but there's something about doing it all by hand like this that just gives it such a lovely look, and it's you know, it's real art. It really is. This is the way I prefer to do it if I can, if I got the time to do it. I guess that's it on the pictures on that. Beautiful work. So we have been really busy today. I'm trying to get all the small stuff out and finished so I can get to the submarine here. I can't wait to get started on that, and what I'm going to start on first, as I said, is Bob was suggesting that this be the cut line here so that this would fit under, but you know, and down in the back there'd be another cut about here. So, but you see, he's already got that cut in there. I forgot you've already done that, Bob. That's brilliant. So he was suggesting they have another cut here, and then this piece fits under this piece, and then down the back it pins shut or screws shut. But it might be that this fits so nice together that I don't have to do that. I may just, you know, gap fill this very, very tight, put pins in it. It'd be nice to have access all the way. Of course, I have to think about what's going to hold it together. And I don't trust magnets by themselves because there's a lot of hydraulic pressure that builds up underneath these holes, despite all these drain holes and limber holes that are on it. Hydraulic pressure is very, very strong, much stronger than those really powerful magnets. So I think I may go with the cut. We'll see. We'll look at that tomorrow. Okay, as promised, we're going to work on the submarine while Mary is over there behind me working on Mr. Spock. We're going to work on the submarine over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some cutting and some fitting. So let's get going. Okay, as you can see here, we've got the sub pretty much all laid out, and really until the inner workings come from Bob, and I'm saying that to you guys who don't know about submarines, we call them the cylinder or the pressure hull. We got a number of different names for them, but it's a cylindrical device that has all the guts inside of it, and it keeps the water out. So Bob's working on that, and that'll be here soon. But in the meantime, we need to get this top to fit on here, okay? And we need to do some cutting. We need to cut here to get the conning tower to fit down inside there. And I wanted you to see all the basic parts laid out for the actual physical model. There's not a lot because it's a submarine. And so as you see it all laid out here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this opening here first, and then Bob suggested that we cut the sub right there. Right here on this line, this weld line, all the way down to the other side. Nate, I got the tripod on, please bear with me. Maybe down to here, as he says, but I really think it's a good spot, because what this will ensure is a very easy opening and closing of the sub that'll become clear to you guys out there that don't do model submarines, because I know you're fascinated watching this in a moment. Okay, so I did the cut that was scribed and found that it doesn't quite fit, so I put it back on, did a little tracing around it, and now I'm going to go take the Dremel and get that, and this should fit in. That's the first thing I wanted to do. Okay, so this is a really nice flush fit, Bob. This is great. See how that fits there? And then up here, we got that, and we got a really nice fitting sail. Really nice, just followed the cut line. Didn't have to have a little tiny bit of a gap back here. Really easy to fill and lock in place. The bit of Evercoat. So next thing I'm going to do is we're going to cut this right where Bob said we should, and I really think it's a good idea. Okay, the first thing I do is take blue painter's tape and I follow the weld line he's got here, which it always throws your eye. Is it straight or isn't it? But it is. And I mean, you can only get it so good. Keep in mind, it is really hard to keep all these lines parallel, and the real submarine didn't have lines that parallel. But what I'm going to do is make my best shot, which I've got, and it's really good, and I'm going to go through here with a razor knife and cut and score through here. The tape helps guide the cut. Okay, there's our cut, and pretty straight too. Now keep in mind, if you're a little bit wavy, it's not the end of the world. Make this side perfectly flat and even and smooth, and when you put these back together later, add some, a little out of breath here, Evercoat or epoxy and micro balloons, and wax this up and sand this, and you'll get back your straight edge perfectly again. You can see what a lovely even thickness Bob makes these holes at. It made it pretty tough to cut through, but one thing to keep in mind, your best friend with one of these blades to keep it cutting through and not jamming up is to keep a bit of a coat of Vaseline on it. It works great. Oil, I would suppose, would work good too. The Vaseline's better because you can clean it off easier with either acetone or alcohol later when you paint and stuff. So anyway, I'm going to remove the tape, and we're going to fit this piece over here like so, and this will be permanently attached like so. Now we got a nice cut there. It's already part of the layup, and this here, and there will be a tongue that goes under this half from this half and locks the whole thing together. There'll also be guiding pins down the side. Well, Mary's been working away on this mock bust, and we have a engagement tonight to attend, so we have to knock off early today, but these busts are really looking nice. I really like them, Mary. Doing a great job. I know there's cleanup to be done and you're not finished yet, but you can see without the eyeshadow, or not the eyeshadow, but the eyeliner and stuff, it looks a lot better. Great job, Mary. And over here you see the sub, and as far as I got was getting this cut made, and you can see that it's a pretty good fit. This will be very easy to clean up. It's a fantastic fit back here. Now what will be back here will either be something that I slide back and forth that tongues under into here and locks this down, or there might be just one single screw that will go into a tongue here. Up under here, there'll be a couple of guide pins on the front of this. They'll slip under here, and what that allows you to do is pop off the top like so, lift it off, and get to the inner workings of the submarine, because the cylinder, the watertight cylinder, which I was drawing a blank on calling a little while ago, fits right in here. There's a couple of bulkheads that will go here that it rests in. It gets locked down. Now I'm hoping to put a torpedo system in this submarine, and I'm also going to make these wonderful masts that Bob made for this boat go up and down. These slip easily enough that I should be able to hook up something to these and make them work. Manfred's done some fantastic work on the stuff that he's posted on YouTube. I've been following him for a long time with his subs and now that Type 23 that he's working on. But and I hope you're watching this, Manfred, because I need to go back and see what you did to get that to work. Now I can't do this with one hand, I don't think. Maybe I can. Maybe I can. It's that good of a fit. And you can see how well this registers as well down here. So we're just going to have a few pins down here that go in here and lock. So it makes it very easy to get to in service with minimal obstruction. There's a little bit of a step right here, but it's very, very, very minor, and I'm just going to put a little bit of putty on that and lift that up. That's it. Great job, Bob. This thing's just going together like butter. The next thing to do to it, of course, is to gap this, put the guide pins in the system that locks down the top. Then I'm going to go ahead and drill some holes here, start drilling in the drains and stuff, and then I'm going to start putting in the dive planes and getting most of the structure together. I got to cut this out, put the floor down here, put the brass work on here. I need to cut out these here because these are also drains, but it'll go very quickly. I'm so excited about this boat. I can't wait to get it in the water. And yes, we are going to be building a test tank very soon, maybe next week, Mary, right?
After my walls.
After her walls, her walls. Okay, now on to putting in some guide pins, and I'm going to be using brass in just a few locations because this fits pretty good. What we want to put these in for is to keep it from doing this, shifting underwater. So what I'm doing now is drilling some holes so I can fit in some brass, and I'm going to have guide pins that go into here. This will keep it lined up and keep it from shifting. Now the fit's very good, so you don't really need it to keep this edge flush to this edge, but it's really just to keep it in place and from doing this. Also, I put a lip up under here, which I'm going to glass from behind here, and then this makes it groove up under here very well. So I'm going to get this done first and then look into having a tongue in there and probably a flat countersunk brass screw in the back here that will screw through this and into my tongue. That's the theory. So I've got the brass pins in, and now I'm making little marcations where I'm going to drill the holes so they line up to the bottom. Okay, I got these drilled out pretty good. I sanded down here to get this to fit really tight and nice, and I can pretty much close this with one hand now. I mean, it's a tight pop-a-doodle, but I'll tell you, it closes really good. I'm just going to I got to pinch this side in. I'm going to have to get my hand free to do it. So I've got all the pins in, and they're pretty well lined up now, and I've done a lot of tweaking and all that kind of stuff, and now we're just going to put this in here and it's going to magically close. Right, guys? There it goes. And I go around, make sure the pins are lined up, and they are. Well, this will get easier to do every time I close it. Okay, so I've got I notched this out. This is a very thick, heavy-duty styrene tongue in here, and I notched this out back here. I countersunk a nice hole in here that will allow this. There's a little bit of stuff I have to file out there still, but this will fit right in there, nice and flush. So that will go into there. So I'm going to close it up and we'll tighten it down and see what we got. Now we're just going to put our screw in here. Have to, we can always loosen it up a bit more, but I think after opening and closing this a number of times, it'll be fine. You can't get that off. And that is now a solid unit. And just needs a little bit of gap filling, and we're ready to just move on after the gap filling's done to putting on the dive planes, which is what I'm going to do next. So tomorrow we'll fill it and then put some dive planes on. Don't it sound just like an instruction video? I'm Mary, but I'm really a silly man, truly. Hey Dan, on subcommittee, you asked about what I was using, and I was using a razor saw, and you could either get one from X-Acto or this slightly better one. Both you can get from the hobby store, and they work really great. They're very thin blades, so you can cut a very thin cut like that. We're gonna get to work on this now, and get the. I'm gonna try to get the diplanes in. So, back working on the submarine. I'm working on the diplanes, and basic setup is this, and you can see what I've got in here. They've got 2 pins in both sides of these, which are pre-drilled. These are the bearings that Bob gives you, which are excellent. Of course, you've seen those before. It takes a bit of tweaking. You have to drill very precisely, and then you'll find that the fit might not be that great, might bind a bit, so you loosen it up, and you get it to work where these turn freely. And that's a battery for the B-17 is now charged. Yay! Okay, and you can see that they're sitting very, very level and trim, and they move very, very freely. Now what has to be done is Bob gives you these templates here, and how that template works is that we're going to cut this little piece of brass that he gave us. Where is it? Trust me, there is a piece of brass in here in the mix. There it is. And you're going to, I'm going to take some spray adhesive, put it on there. I'm going to cut these out, and I'm going to make, these are for the 2 pins. This is the hole to be drilled to mount the shaft, and this is where your clevis or control arm will connect to. And this will be pretty much hidden rather than being internal, because it would be very difficult to be an internal mechanism there. You'd have to cut the top of this off, and it would be hard. This is going to be a lot simpler. Now the movement's very easy and free. Very, very nice, Bob. I love the way that went together. It's just beautiful. I'll show you here very quickly what this looks like once it's all assembled, because Bob is very good at sending me pictures, which help a great deal. If we can get Hal to stop being on the screen there for a minute, there we go. There's your basic setup. And I think it's really, really quite simple and effective. Okay, let's see. There's all the parts layout. Easy enough to figure out. And this is a stainless steel shaft that drives into this. So before I can lock this down, I have to make this part, put these 2 little pins in there, and then we can actually lock those down. So anyway, back to this. I am going to start cutting this, these little parts here. Okay, I've got these mounted with spray adhesive. Now I start drilling the holes. I always like to drill the holes first before I cut the piece. And there's the deal. And it works really well, because you can see I got one in here, and they you barely be able to see these here. There'll be a couple of holes in here and a control rod hooking up to that. This was Bob's idea to do it this way. I'm sure some of you will decide that you want to make it internal to be absolutely scale, but you know, this is going to be a lot less trouble and easier to manage, and I mean, you don't see it. I do need to grind this edge a little bit flush to the edge of that, but that's about all. Alright, this is looking really, 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 really nice. I'm really pleased the way this is working. This is so free turning and nice. So what I'm going to do on Monday is lock all this down. Well, clean it up, lock it down, primer it, blend this in using some epoxy. And that pretty well locks these up. Before I do that, I'm going to, of course, put some holes through here, put some control rod connectors to this, because I don't have the watertight compartment right now. I'll just make sure they're extra long, so that when it comes, I can finish this off. What we're also going to do is we're going to put in the 2 rudders next, and the 2 guards for the rudders on Monday. Actually, it's 1 guard in the center, and that's this bit right here. And the looks of it, this goes about here, like so, and then our 2 rudders will be either side of it. I believe these are the front diplanes, these are the rudders. All right. No. I think I am right. Yes, I am. Those are the rudders, which Bob worries the scale rudders may not be adequate enough, but you've got two of them. So there's a surface area we have to turn the boat. It should be fine. It won't turn on a dime, but really, not many subs did from long ago, or even today, although they turn better than they did. So, and then these are the two guards for the front dive planes. We'll also get those on Monday, is my plan. Once all this is on, then I'm going to go ahead and gap all this and finish off this entire hull so that it's basically ready to take paint, and I'm going to move on. This is just tacked in. I'm going to take this off and start cutting it up and getting it prepped to put in the brass work and put in the conning tower bits down in here, the mast and all that stuff. And I'm also going to be drilling all these holes. Probably by the end of the week I'll have most of that stuff done. It might take a couple because I do have the other job that just came in to do the X-Wing. So it's I'm really pleased though with the progress so far, and I hope you are too, Bob. I know you're watching, and you guys that are looking at this boat and thinking, geez, I think I might want to get one. I'd get one if I were you, because it's a really, really unique subject, and it's a World War I boat. Not many have World War I boats in our fleet, and it's really a pretty one, I think, and it's just so unusual. It's just so historic looking. I don't know. I can't pick the word for it, but it's really something not everybody has. And you know what? The best part about it is it's really well made, and it goes together real, real well. Okay, so I've got the four dive planes on, which I have to put a bar on and hook, but I need to see the watertight compartment first and see what I'm dealing with there. We've got the rudders on here. Temporarily I put wheel collars in there, and the movement's very free. They just missed the guards the way they're supposed to. I've got a lot of movement here, so that's very nice. And of course, you know, I've got these on, and they're very, very, very free moving. Really, really, really nice, Bob. So that takes care of all that. And this is the business part I wanted to get in place first before I start actually gapping and stuff, because all this stuff can be removed. These pins come out here, and you can pull these out. I need to glue these in with epoxy. These, of course, can be removed for the wheel collars. There'll be arms on here that will be hooked to the shaft, and the shaft will make these turn. So really, really, really nice. So, and I need to let them down a bit just so they have a little bit more room to clear for a little bit wider turn there. But you know what? We're not going to turn them that much. So that really went together well. I'm going to put the top on. We'll have a look. So here we are. She's all together. I mean, this is it for now. And I have a little bit of bending to do on this and this right here, but it's pretty close to being parallel. And so we got those, and we know we got both the rudders in place and both the dive planes in place. So that takes care of all the locating, getting the top to fit on good. And what we want to go to next is gapping and filling in all the seams and sanding, and then we're going to work on the sail and get that all built. Of course, we also have to drill all these holes, and there's a lot of holes for the drains, and these go on top, which are Kingston valves, and there's a tower hatch in here. That hatch goes in there, and that fits down here on this floor. So, but you're going to see all that next week. But the basic submarine hull and everything is put together, and everything in place the way it should be. Of course, everything has to be finalized, is all. But it was nice to get it to this point this week. I didn't think I would. And Bob's sending the prop, and pretty soon. And also he'll be sending, I believe in the middle of March, I'll have the watertight compartment, or the cylinder for it. And the OTW cylinders are one of the best out there. They're really, really nice and use the water pump system. So we'll have that soon and be able to really probably have this submarine done in March, maybe even in time to take to Anaheim with Jeff Proteus and Darren Hathaway. Okay, so we're back to work on the submarine, and I'm just kind of leveling out some areas that don't quite match, which is no big deal. Just a little bit of this This is the Bondo stuff. I'm blending in these, which I'll be sanding. That little area chipped out there again for some reason, so we fixed that again. All these have been blended and sanded in, so they're pretty much blended in really nice. And the whole thing is fitting really clean. So as soon as I sand out this stuff, we're going to put some primer on this and drill the drains and the holes in the hole, and go over it one more time, and then we're going to sand it down a little bit again, and then some more primer, and that should pretty well take care of the hole, though there are parts to put on. Okay, so sanding, and I think I got this finally once and for all, this little chip that keeps coming out here. I'm going to sand this stuff off here. We're going to open it up. I'm going to get some primer on it. Okay, lots more progress done. Bob, I got all those holes drilled. I still have to drill these vent holes here for the Kingston valves. I believe that's where they go, but I'm really unclear on it based on the plans. Up here I see things that are on here that are not over here, so I know that I see things here that I'm going to have to, I guess, add to it. There's just so few pictures. Looks like there's some kind of strips that go here. There's a few little odds and ends up here, which I'll try to get going. But I'm going to put some primer on this, and I'm going to drill these holes later once I figure out exactly how these Kingston valves go on. So, okay, well, I got a coat of primer on the bottom. Also, it's really neat to see everything the same color, and I can see where my little problems are I have to fix, and there aren't many. There's this going on here, and what I'm going to do is that's just an absorption there into the filler. That will go away, but right here we got a little more. But just to really smooth that over and make it look like a door, I'm going to cut a very thin piece of styrene and put it over there, and I may do it on all three just to make the doors pop out more. But this looks so clean and so nice because it's an OTW hull, and Bob just does great work. I mean, these boats are so nice. Now, you notice there's a couple little dings up in here from, you know, the way they were pulled out of the mold and everything, which I'm sure won't be there again because this is one of the first ones he pulled out. I don't mind this because I'm going to leave this and put a little bit of rust on it and stuff because they get bashed up like that all the time in real life and in the pool and in the lake. So I might as well just leave them rather than fix them. So I like to do my boats dirty. I like to make them look like they've been at sea. I like them to be rusted, dented, dinged up, and corroded. So here she is sitting right side up again. Nice coat of primer on, all looking in one color. Really starting to look really neat. I can see where all my problems are. We got a little bit of a overlap here, which I will correct with a little bit of putty on that side. Pretty much we're really good and clean on this side, and down here is fine, and up here is really nice and clean. You barely see it. Down here, same thing. We're very clean. All the holes are in except for the larger ones. Drains I have to put in still, and of course I got to put in the drains in the bottom, but none of that takes very long. One of the great things about the tower is all these rivets, and he's got the holes for the handrails, and of course I have all the parts for him as well. So as soon as we get this hole tidied up the rest of the way and a good coat of primer on it and all the other holes and bits added to it, we're going to start on this. So here we are at the sub, and it looks really good, and now the primer's all dry and ready to be futzed with, but I've got a step over here I want to work on getting rid of. I had one over there which is gone. I just have to do a little bit more finessing on it, so let's do that. So what I have been doing is, and it's pretty boring, and there's really not a lot to show you, but remember I fixed the step on this side, and this is, you know, pretty much stepless. There's a tiny bit of it here. I'm going to leave it because I don't think it's really worth fixing. And the real bad, well, not bad one, but the one that was showing the most was right here. And I just put some tape on this side, and I used some Evercoat, and built it up and went through with an X-Acto blade and recut and rescored our separating line here, and then did a little bit of sanding And that way I didn't wreck the other side. And as you see, there's no step anymore. So this is going to have to dry for a while, and then I'm going to sand this down lightly and all the other trouble spots that have gone back over. And as you can see, we don't have a shadow there anymore. We've got a nice hole all the way around. We got a little step there, but when I press in there, I see that it's going back in. So all I have to do is there's one pin right there, is just put a little bit of material on putty inside, hard putty, or even CA on the inside of the pin, and that'll pull that in and make that go pretty flat, like so. But again, it's very slight, and I'm not going to worry about it too much. So these are just areas where I've gone back over and smoothed it out some more, and I'm going to re-primer, and we should be looking just about ready to go here to start doing the other parts, which I'm not going to get to today. We'll get to it tomorrow, and I need to talk to Bob and find out exactly how these Kingston valves go on the hull. But the hull really is looking nice. So while Mary's watching the instruction videos on the X-Wing to figure out how the laser cannons go together, I'm going to, while she does that and starts assembling the laser cannons, I'm going to find all these Kingston valve openings, and I'm going to open them up to this exact size, and then the Kingston valve actually goes up into this hole, this opening here. This goes in from the back side, so we're going to get those in. And yes, Bob, you did actually mark locations to take a Dremel tool and route a little groove in there so that we can actually get these to actually drain. Okay, the first thing I want to do, of course, is open the top, and I haven't done this since I did all the corrections on the hull fit, but you can see what I talked about. See how much easier this is to open and close now. So it's very easy to open and close. It just time did that. And I see now why I was having a problem with that misalignment. This pin had moved completely. I need to put some putty behind this to hold this in place better, and then we won't have that problem. So the first thing I want to do is locate each one of these openings and drill the holes. So I've got all these marked off now, and you can see where they all go. He gives you 8 Kingston valves to put in, and I do believe I've got 8 here, so we're going to use those. I believe there's ones on the bottom too, and Bob and I discussed this. I'm really never going to see them, so I opted not to have them down there. It's personal preference. If you want to put them down there to make it more scale, you can, but I prefer to have these drains be open completely to drain water when we pull the boat out of the water. So I'm going to notch these. I'm also going to drill out these, and we're also going to look down here at the bottom, and we're going to get the other drains opened up. And these drains should be adequate to drain the entire boat. You don't need a ton of holes down there. At least I've found that that's the case. Now, what I like to do is I like to just take the drill and put it in the center, and using I'm probably blocking on it. I'll do this one. This will be a better example. What I'm going to do is get this right on center, pretty much eyeball it, check, that is on center. You can mark these center if you like. If you've got a good eye and a good hand, you should be able to do these the way I'm doing it. Am I blocking? I am blocking. Okay. I really need to have my camera rigged, but you'll get the idea. I'm going to do this, right, and drill a small hole first. Then what I like to do, if I get off center, like I did anyway, is just take a blade like that, get that hole pretty well centered, like so. You see the hole I've made, and it's rough and crude and all that kind of thing. And then I still want to be further over to this edge here, so I don't get the hole out around to center. That'll work good. Now I'm just going to do this, and I'm just going to twist this until I see it get right to the edge. And that'll give us a perfectly round and precise hole like so. Now you see they got some of the fiber in there from the mat. So you need to go around with a sharp blade and clean that up. And you can even take a file to it and go inside. You know all this, don't you? Well, maybe you don't, so I'm just going to do this for now. And now we got a nice perfect little hole. All the drains for the bottom that are scale position, the Kingston valves anyway, are in place. We may actually want to put a few small ones that will be non-scale along here, but I'm not sure, because you know what? I've always found I'm able to drain my boats, so just by shaking them from side to side, and I really don't like putting non-scale things in if I can avoid it. So these will do nicely. The way the boat tapers down, I think most of the water will flow from down here to here. And you can see this is really clean when you use the reamer. If you're not familiar with this particular type of reaming tool, I got this at my hobby store, Smith Brothers, and it's used to ream out props to fit radio-controlled model airplanes. So when you get your prop, it doesn't quite fit the shaft, you have you ream it out. So what I did to get these openings all the same size is I marked this with a black felt pen, and I go down to that depth, because what you want to be able to do is be able to get these Kingston valves to fit from the inside like so, and you should have a little space around them so that the water can get past it. I might even open up a little bit more. I'm going by what Darren Hathaway had done on his boat, not this same one, but a World War II sub, and I forget the class. And you want to have that little gap around it. So what I want to do next is mark, I'm going to make 3 grooves in here so the water can get down and through and past this, because it is supposed to drain. It is supposed to be a valve. You gotta love dogs. I mean, it's a nice rainy day and it's all cozy, and Rosie likes to sit at the top of the stairs and watch over everything. But notice the ball. You're so cute. Okay, here's what I did. I marked them and grouped them just like that, using a Dremel tool tip like this. If I stay still like this, since this is 1280p or 720p, I should be able to pull some good pictures out of these for the article for SCR, so that's why a lot of times I'll just pause and I'll do things like that. And that's the tip I used, and just, you know, notch them out. Now water can get between there and the valve sticking out. What I'm doing is I'm placing the Kingston valves in just like so from the back side of the bit of CA, and I put a little kicker back there first so they grab on really easily. I think you can see that okay. Yeah, there you go. So, and then from the back you can see how they look in here. Widen up the shot. You get the idea. The monitor is upside down right now, so you can see. There, now I can tell what I'm doing. And I had a flat sand this one and this side because these two were pretty close together. But I got all those in. I'll go back and put some more CA around them, and I'll probably build a little putty around them too, as long as it's waterproof. And that should hold those in pretty well. But we have our opening still, so I should be able to. I can feel the air coming out, so I know that these are working out really well. These add a lot of scale to this model. I really love the way they look. They're very, very cool, the way they're inset that way, and they're actually somewhat functional too, certainly as drains and allowing the air to come in and out of the hull. So, and the water in and out of the hull. So, let's put this together and see how it looks. So, here we go. We're gonna put the top back on, and it lines up really well now. It's been used and taken off and on so many times. We are starting to get some wear, which makes it easier to close. Always this one hangs up. There we go. And kaboom. Got a good close there. And we'll put one screw back here. And we tighten it down. Voila, just like magic, that's all it takes. The other thing I want to point out too, remember we had a step there a minute ago. It turned out this pin needed to be drilled out further this way. It was causing the side to pinch in, and you don't want that. Now we got a perfect fit. And so with the pins, I find you have to do some adjustments along the way to get both sides to fit together smoothly like you see here. This is really looking good now. So we got the Kingston valves in position. They look great. They're a little deeper up in front here. I may have to pop them back out and grind them a bit to fit up more to the surface the way they do here. But you know what? They look really good. So they really came out well. And thank you, Bob Demick, so much for pointing out to me how these go in. I feel silly thinking they went on the outside, and I didn't think they did. I just didn't think. They're functional, they're in, they're wonderful, and what I want to do next time we get back to work on the sub is there's details up here that I want to use some styrene for and put these in. We've got the hydrophone, which I'll have to make and put on there. This is for the rigging up front. I don't think we have that part. There is some sort of drain here I'm not clear on. But we do have these posts. We do have this here. We do have the anchor. There's a slot for the anchor that I have to cut in, I believe, that goes here, I believe. So bit by bit, we're going to do this stuff starting on Monday. As it turns out, these parts are all here. Let me show you. These here are for the rails, the handrails. You can see they're just, these here are for the handrails, and you can see how beautiful they are and the holes in them. Bob gave me a number of those. Those go around the sail or the conning tower. We do have these, and unfortunately, Bob, these were broken in the kit, but I can easily fix them. This was broken too, which is really odd, you know, because I mean, how does that happen, you know? But it did. But the bits are there, so I can glue that back together. It's really not a problem. You can see where they go, and they go right here. And one of the little discretion I have found here, Bob, is, and I know you're watching, is I believe the capstan goes here. Not a Kingston valve. So my question is where does the 8th Kingston valve actually live when it's at home? I don't see a marking for it, so you might tell me, but I believe that does go there, and which is an easy fix. And then I've since also figured out that you do not put this part on here, the Samson part, with these two holes here for these two posts here. So what I'm going to do is drill them out a bit more and push this part up from the inside, because I don't believe that this part here is supposed to be up above deck. I can see looking here that these are, they actually, I think these get removed from this post and stuck up from the back side in those holes. So I am going to do that as well on Monday. And we're going to cut a slot and get the anchor mounted. I'm going to add these strips here. I'm going to give this effect here using strips of styrene. And there's a couple little things here which I'll also put on with styrene. This will be with styrene, and I think we'll have it. This part here, I believe, is in our collection of goodies. I could be wrong. I think that's it. I don't see where else it goes on the plans, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm pretty clear on most of this stuff now. Let's get going on this, because these were just kind of glued in. Both my soldering iron was not hot enough, even at 60 watts, to solder those properly. This will do the job. So now that I have the right tools, I'm able to get all these parts in, and as you can see, these go up and down really nice, which is really cool. And I may at one time, one day, hook up to them a system that'll make them raise up and down. But for now, I just want to get the model built. I got the hatch on here. I've got these ventilation openings here. What do they call them here? Ventilation pipes. Well, that's certainly an easy thing to remember. In place. What I'm going to do before I put in the compass is I really like seeing the brass parts. I'm not going to paint this. Probably going to leave it just like it is. I really like it because it's going to be light gray in there, and that way I can keep the parts that color. But I am going to hit this with light gray in a second. I'm going to remove the scopes, of course. Okie dokie. I have been working on this and getting this to fit in and getting it secured so it's in there good and hard and level is the main thing that you want to be able to do. Is that's why you need to get the scopes in first, the mass, because then you can check it and make sure that see, this big one goes back here, that they're in straight, and they are in straight, as you can see from the sides and from the front. So there's a third one too, but it's straight. The rest of the plane is straight. I use these to tell when I was level with the floor, and I went in from underneath and pushed up rather than going from the top and go in. But I can still see I'm going to need more smoothing down inside, so I'm going to affect that with some red putty. I wish I had done it first, but I thought it looked pretty smooth to me. I'll do a little sanding first and hit this some primer and see where the real problem's on. There is going to be some teak in there, I can see, which Bob's sending me. There's some over here that goes on the seat, and I believe there's some that goes here, so that's going to help a lot on that. So, alrighty, I forgot to show you that there was some overhang from the brass, and rather than carve the brass back beneath the overhang, I built up with putty the overhang to meet the brass. I still have some more filling work to do and some smoothing out to do, which will be really easy with some red putty now, but you get the idea. So we've got a nice even bit all the way around, and of course I'm going to do the same thing a little bit over here, fill that in. This I've tapered back a bit, but it levels it all out. I've stuck the sail in temporarily. I've got the compass inside, the hatch, and everything in there, and I'm going to put this together and have a look. Okay, I cut away the slot there for the anchor and gave the feeling of the hole going back under here, but there has to be a ledge put right here I need to put on with a strip of styrene on both sides, which finishes this off really well. And the anchor does need to be up in there further, but I think what I'm going to, it's just tacked in here for now, but I think what I'm going to do is actually put a chain on there, and I can have it in different positions when it's on display or at the regatta, which I may attend this year, the one in Colorado, right, Mary? I don't know how that got filled up again with holes, but these are drilled through. I have to go back and got some debris in there, but this is looking really nice. And I got the compass in now and the hatch and everything. They were really cramped, weren't they, these old boats? Of course, the handrails have to go on. I have to cut out all of these. We got limber holes to put up here. You know, there's a lot to do still. It is going quickly, but there's a lot to do. In fact, the limber holes go, yes, right across to here, across to there. Okay. So, but it is getting there, and it is looking like a more like a submarine every day. Tomorrow, of course, is my birthday, so we will not be working on this, not unless the weather turns bad and I can't go flying, in which case I may come here and work tomorrow. Mary tells me it's all to me. So, but this is really looking cool, and I'm getting real tired. Just, it's going to have lots of scale bits on it. I still got to gap this with some putty. You've got an area here that's got to be cleaned up. But that's what putty's for, and we'll tighten all that up, and this is going to look really, really, really cool. It already is. I just can't wait till the dive system gets here and I can start installing that as well. And the propeller's on the way, which Bob says I'm really going to love. But this is just getting more and more exciting by the moment. Really, really cool. Now, these doors are actually flush on the real boat, so I may cut these out and then push them in a bit, or make new doors that just fit just right in there flush. And I haven't decided yet. Also, of course, I think I've gone over it before, all the drains are on underneath here. And of course I have to fix that. So, this is just so cool. Okay, going back over here, we got more parts still to put on this model today, and not many. I got this part here, which I have to fix, and it goes back here. I'm going to replace this with this because I found a picture of the R10 and it actually had this metal one instead of this one, which I just broke off. I didn't mean to break it, but I'll get it off. The metal would be better anyway. I just got to get it really, really flat and on the deck here. But I also want to put in the other little detailed parts here. I want to finish off the work on this, and we have some work to do on the X-wing. So I like using this metal one a lot more, and it's metal cast, and I've carved a nice groove in there so this fits flush to the deck, which it really should do. So now I'm going to glue that in position. Luckily, I remembered this, that I had this on hand, and it matches Bob's ladder almost exactly. It's the right scale, and it's plastic struck, which is not really strong. I mean, it would be better to have had this out of brass, but all things considered, this is very, very strong, and as long as I remember not to grab the sail in that location. You shouldn't grab the sail anyway, because it's going to have railing on it in a minute. It should be fine. So basically what I did is I drilled some holes, and I looked at what was over here on the actual plans and put in the ladder in the front, and that worked out really, really well. Okay, fun with handrails, but thanks to Bob, this is being made pretty easy because I have lost some rivets here, and I will get them back. I can even go around the rails to do it with a bit of thin CA, but I want to get these rails on. So we're going to do that, and wait till you see how simple it is using his method. Okay, so you get all these little guys in, and believe me, they are not easy. I mean, they're easy, but if you have 62-year-old eyes now, 62, it gets a bit hard without visors and stuff on. But they're on, and they're clean, and I'm going to run this wire here all the way through them. As you can clearly see, we've got rails on this side, we got rails on that side, and we have all the little, I forget what these are called, but the rail holders on both sides. And Bob, I had exactly enough, minus the two that went bing. Not the machine that goes bing, but the part that goes bing. Inevitably, when it's this small and you have to hold it with a pair of tweezers or forceps, as I did with this, they snapped out. So the two extra came in very, very handy because I was able to complete this mission. So what I'm going to do now is string the wire through it, and that completes the rails, and that happened very, very quickly, as you said it would. So I'm going to try to show you how you feed these in, and I'm hoping I'm not blocking everything. I'm always saying that, aren't I? Basically, you feed them in like this. You kind of do a twisting action. It kind of feeds them through. I also bored out, sanded down the tip and the burrs off the end of the wire so they fit in easier. Theory being that will go in there pretty smooth. Like so, and you do this all the way through. Okay, the rails are on all the way around. They look beautiful. I do have to bend the fronts of them down a little bit inward, but that's all there is to it, and they look really super, Bob. Love the technique. It works out very well, and they're nice and straight. And they're real rails. I mean, if you were a miniature person, you could hang from those. Okay, so I've got all the drains cut out. Those front drains are cut out. Handholds are cut out. Most of the work is done on this. It seems a little wobbly to me, but I guess it's okay. And you know, I need to primer it now, take another look, and then figure out what needs to be touched up. I got to put some rivets back. Tomorrow the drive system is coming, drive system, which now finally will be explained to a lot of you that are unfamiliar with this subject, how these boats dive. And I see some of these holes have to be opened up again. So you'll be able to see that. And in addition to that, there's going to be some teak to put on the inside of here, and I'm going to put a little seat here. And that'll pretty much finish this off, although there are other little tiny details that will be added later. This is the main thrust of getting the sail together, which actually takes the most time in this build, I'm finding. So let's get some primer on this, put it on here, and call it a day. Oh, we managed to get a lot done in the sub today. Tomorrow we're going to have the drive system in the morning and the propeller, and I'm going to install the propeller and the prop shaft tomorrow only, and a few pieces of styrene that go up here, the skids or strips, whatever you want to call them. I still have the bilge keel and the fenders to put on the side, but Bob's also, I believe, sent that material for me to do that, and the fenders go in. I probably won't do that tomorrow, but I might. But basically tomorrow, most of the day is going to be spent on the X-wing. It got washed again before primering, so I really didn't get to work on it because I'm waiting for it to dry thoroughly before I put primer on it tomorrow, and at which time I'm going to also start working on painting the interior and all that kind of stuff. But for now, a lot is done on this boat. There's every single part he sent me so far has been built into the ship. All the drains have been cut open, the handholds and all that kind of stuff, and of course you know how good this is all looking down in here. And we still have the teak, which is also going to be in tomorrow's shipment. The teak's going to be in there for the wood that goes inside there. And you're probably wondering, why do they put wood inside of a conning tower? It's because when they were near the Arctic Circle, in the very freezing cold, you wouldn't come out and get stuck to the metal deck. Basically, that's it. But I can't wait to get the prop on this, because that's really going to tie this whole boat together. It's just fantastic. The more work I do on it, the more it looks like a real submarine. It's just, well, it is a real submarine. It really is so neat and so different from everything that we've been building and sailing, guys. So I still got a little gappy stuff here I don't like. I still may tighten it up some more before the final paint job. Last we left off, we had actually, yesterday I did work a bit on this. In fact, I worked on it a lot more than a bit. But it was towards the end of the day, and we really didn't have much more to show video-wise, so I figured we'll just wait and show you today. Now you can see how easily it all opens up now. Since it's been open and closed a number of times. We've got the cylinder in place. We have the controls hooked up for the rudder. Now, you're probably wondering, what did I do here? Well, there are two arms here, okay? And both these arms are connected to each rudder. This arm here is connected to one of the rudder posts and goes to this control arm, which goes all the way back to here, and I seem to be missing a grub screw in there. Well, I guess it is in there. It's just screwed in real far. It's a stainless steel. And so when the servo moves like this, it turns the rudder. See how they both work? You guys are wondering how I was going to do that in the cramped quarters. Yes, they are very cramped, but I did manage to get it to work. The propeller shaft is not indeed touching any of the shafts, which are controlling the elevators or the dive planes and the rudders. Now this goes to here. It goes to a V. The V or Y comes out down here. Now this was Bob's recommendation and suggestion to do this. Now you can see the little brass, and the pattern was a pattern that Bob gives you with the kit, and this is if you want to control the dive planes this way. It's so narrow back here, and you got the prop shaft and you got the prop bearing back in here. You're going to have a really hard time internally controlling that. Yeah, I'm not saying that you guys out there won't do it, because I know who you are. I'm sure Andy will have a bunch of suggestions. I'm sure that a number of you will have suggestions about how you might go about doing it. But you know what? I like to keep things simple and very serviceable, and this certainly is. Now you'll see that they are very effective. I got plenty of throw, and I'll never need that much deflection to get this boat to dive. What I have not done yet is put stabilizers on this, which will be on this post here. And this, they work really well without it, but you get a little bit of flex up and down, so you get a little bit more solid movement. If you, I'm going to put a couple of sleeves there to keep those in position, but you can see how little play I have. They're quite strong. Now what I have to do up here is make a control arm that goes on this, solder this all together, put the control arm on this, and to get these two to move, because I do not have a servo reverser. I thought I had one that I could hook up to the servo, which makes it run the other direction, and they're both operating on the same channel. I will have to have the actual arm on the bottom side here, underside, and I'm going to have like an L-shaped piece go down in here to drive it, so that when these are down like that, these are down like that. Now Jeff wrote and told me that you might want to tell the folks there's another way to do this, that if you have a 5 or 6 channel unit, that you can, as they do in full-size submarines, use these for trim and have a separate channel, ideally on a proportional control, and a lot of 6 and 7 channel radios have those, and you can set the trim on these rather than use them as actual devices to dive the boat. And that means they're not connected to the auto leveling device, which is this right here. And by the way, I need to set this. It's way too sensitive. I got to set it to the default setting, which is less sensitive, or turn down the sensitivity of it, because I'm getting way too much throw out of this. This boat will be porpoising all over the place if I don't. But thanks, Jeff LaRue, for reminding me about that, because yes, it is true. And the problem was with this radio, it's the only spare radio I have. All my other subs are dedicated. It's the only radio I didn't have. So unfortunately, there's no ATVs on this. All I have is reversing. So any type of reduction I want of the throws on these servos, I'm going to have to do at the servo itself. In other words, to get less elevator, I'm going to have to move this into the middle hole you see there. That will take some of it down. I really wish this radio had ATVs on it, but it doesn't. So we're going to go ahead and make up the arms for that. Okay, it don't look pretty. We'll pretty it up, but basically you can see how solid this is. I mean, it really is quite solid, and it's what I need. And when this moves like that, that one goes that way, and this one goes that way. Oh, sorry, that way, because they both go. You know, I'm gonna have to hook it up to the radio and see. But basically, that's how it's gonna go. This is gonna move. I got plenty of trim there. If I should decide to get a different radio for it, but these work really good, and they're very solid. There's not a lot of slack in them at all, which is good. Pretty tight, so this should be good. Just a simple, I just did a very quick arm down here and a very simple Z-bend, and of course the wheel collars and holes through those go to flat spots on these. We've got the same thing going on here, so this is adjustable, just like I did with these down here. So that's it. So here I have just a 7.2 volt battery hooked up to this, which is why our pump is not running. This is 12 volts, so I forgot that I was doing that, and that's why, Jeff, when I operate this, we're not getting anything because it's just not getting the voltage. So that's nice to know because it is all hooked up. And I know it works because it came assembled for me. But you can see the diplanes are very nice now. Got plenty of down, plenty of up. Never going to need more than that. And of course down here we've got the same thing going on. We got our up and down. And I have a lot there. And of course there's our rotors. Oh, hang on, wrong one, control. You can just see those working. And they touch here and stop me from going too far. So I'm going to actually lower these down a little bit to get a little more out of it because they're small, they're scale, and she's going to be a slow turner, but that's okay. And then of course our prop in a reverse. And what I'm getting here is some slap, which I got to stabilize, which shouldn't be a problem. So you can see how sensitive right now the auto leveler is. If I just wiggle this is the table wiggling. So we need to desensitize that, and we need to also stabilize the prop, but it's doing pretty good. We got a little slap going on there. You can hear it. So we got to fix that. But I haven't locked off the bearing yet, and that's part of it. Really low resolution. I mean, just the turn that I can get this to turn at is so nice and slow. So, and it's going the right direction now. So, but we do have some slap in there, see? So I have to fix off the bearing, and there's not a lot of room in there, so I have to get in there very carefully and stuff that so it can't move, which I will do tomorrow. But at least everything is, for now, is entirely hooked up, and we've got our controls, which is really nice. So I'm really pleased, and I'm going to order a 12 volt 5,000 milliamp pack from cheapbatterypacks.com, and that's going to end up being our ballast right here. Now I don't have a lot of room to get that pack under here, but I do, just barely. So that's where the pack will go. It'll be bigger than that because it'll be 8 cells instead of I think this one's 6 cells. Yeah, I think so. And so it's going to stand a little bit further down there. I still have to go in here and clean all this stuff up and make it nice. And clean up this and make it nice. And I will tidy up everything. And then our lead ballast will go here. There's a little bit of room underneath here for some more lead ballast. I can see a space down in there. And you can see how well, I'm going to turn this off. You can see how easily this lifts out of this cradle here, and it doesn't want to turn either, which is really, really good. And so it's a really good lock in there, and the foam will hold it down. I'm going to put a little bit more epoxy sculpt right here on these two grub screws here. I might do it down this end, and that will keep this, I mean, any chance of it turning in place, but I don't think it's going to. That's going to be it on this today. I'm going to close it up, and we're going to call it a day and go home. Okay, so there he is with the top on. What's left to do, of course, is do some cleanup all around the hull, blend this to the hull a bit better, get the gaps there. We got to add the bilge keel and add the bumpers, and Bob gave me the styrene for the bumpers, and I've got, believe it or not, some balsa here for the bilge keel, which I'm going to shape on the boat, shape by hand, and then put it on the boat, and then glass over it with some 1 ounce and epoxy and completely seal it so that no water can get to it. And that should make a pretty nice bilge keel because it has a slight curve in it. I don't see myself getting that out of brass. So that was my solution for that. So that's going to do it on the sub for today. Let's take a look at her here and go on home. She's just a beautiful boat, Bob. You guys you did a great job. Okay, over here. This is going to be a short report today because we've been doing lots of work that really is not very interesting. A lot of sanding and things like that. I'm about to do some more on the X-Wing. But what I did do is take some epoxy sculpt, and you know, there wasn't really a way to lock off the bearing. There was one way to do the bearing, which is attached to this stainless steel shaft, and that was to cut open the top here and mount it that way and get inside. And I really didn't want to cut this all up and make that whole mess. So what I did is took some epoxy sculpt. If you don't know what epoxy sculpt is, I will show you again. This is epoxy sculpt, and you can get this just about at any decent modeling hobby store, or you can order it online, and they have it in small containers like that or large big ones. And of course, you know, I used it to make these bulkheads, which lock this in very well, and it fits in a nice little notch. I put some cellophane in there, and it just lifts out very easily. What holds it in is the top half of the submarine itself. Now, you'll notice that I've done here today is I put more epoxy, and I put it right at the grub screws here, which hold the cylinder together. This means that the cylinder under no circumstances can rock side to side due to motor torque. Okay. Also, I want to thank Andy. We all know Andy. Andy pointed out that despite the shortcomings of this particular radio not having ATVs on it, this unit here, which is the auto leveling system, can be programmed, and it will allow you to slow down the dive servo throws, which is really great to know. Andy, thanks so much, because that makes this, I don't care how much. I can't have enough rudder in this ship, so that's not an issue. Throttle is not an issue, but the dive planes is. When you have too much, you know what happens. They like to porpoise. So thanks, Andy, for pointing that out. I haven't had a chance to look at the instructions yet, simply because we have been so busy here with all the other work we're doing for me to look at it, but I will. I get an hour or two a day on this, and then I gotta go back upstairs and work on the X-Wing. We got clients, I gotta get work done for them first, so I do this when I can or when I'm waiting for something to set up. In the case, I decided to do this first because this is gonna set up till tomorrow, this epoxy, and hopefully I didn't bind the dive planes with it when I crammed it back there, but usually once you work it free like this, it makes a nice little slot in the epoxy, and it will not stick to that stainless steel shafts that are sticking out into about here. So basically what's happened by my constant moving of that while it gets harder is that it will in fact allow me to be free. I mean, a good example of that is, let's see, I'll take something like this, which is similar in size to a prop opening, a prop shaft opening. I can put it in here like this, as you can see, and I can turn it freely. Once I do, it just comes right out. So it's not really going to stay stuck to the metal after I turn it a few times, which I've done repeatedly. So, okay? That's the theory, and now this shaft is not wiggling around at all, and when this stuff sets up all the way, the bearing will be secure, and we'll have a nice smooth running prop. What was happening before is that the prop was moving. You see it's not now. It's not wiggling around in place, so it's going to be very, very solid. Okay, guys, here's the deal. Now, I've got an SL8 that I found, and I don't know where it came from, but it was sitting in my box of stuff that got moved up here that had receivers and other things related to it. Lucky for me, I also found the programmer, because I had this radio but no receiver for it, and it's on channel 72. So I started thinking, This is 6 channel. I got ATVs. I've got a 5th channel here and a fully proportional channel here, which means I can set these for trim. And I'm going to put this radio and replace this radio with this radio. This is going to work a lot better. So I still wasn't sure if things were going to work out the way I wanted them to. So what I did is I followed their instructions and I plugged this in this way. But what you do is you plug this in first, you power it. You set this for the channel you want it to be first. Then you plug this in, press this light, and when you get the confirmation light, that means that this crystal, or this receiver crystal, has been programmed for channel 72. I unplugged it, and unplugged that. I turned this on first. I plugged this into here, and guess what? It works like a champ. And this is going to be a much better way to go on this boat with this. And thanks to Mary, I found something else. I found this. This is the radio. This is a 4-channel laser with ATVs, and this is what was matched to the Nautilus. I'm so glad to know that I still had this radio. It was behind some other radios, and I'm so glad to have found that. It means there's nothing I have to do to the Nautilus. It's ready to run on the 12th. So let's get this one over here ready to run next. Okay, more good news. I found a gel cell, and this gel cell is not very old at all. In fact, it was only used like once. It's only a 1.3 amp hour, but this will still last for a fairly long run. And it is 12 volts, and it is a sealed battery, and it took a charge just perfectly, no problems found. And of course, now we're running on the right voltage, and of course, with the prop shaft not moving around anymore, we're pretty darn smooth now. Got a little bit of vibration. I still want to dampen out here, but not much. And it's probably because this shaft has got a little bit of a bend in it still. So I'm going to buy a new piece and connect it in there and replace that. That should be the end of our problem. So what I've been doing is changing the radio, and I got this 6-channel laser hooked up with the proportional control and all the other fine features that this one didn't have. I replaced it with the Samba Labs SL8. You guys will know that these are very, very good receivers. And one of the things I noticed the minute I switched to this receiver was, from this one, is it went quiet. I didn't have all this chattering going on and stuff. And when I moved this, I've reprogrammed it. Thank you, Andy, for the instructions. I reprogrammed this. It's very, very smooth now. Also, I slowed down the action on this so it's not all over the map. It's much, much better. I haven't set the ATV on it yet, but I will. And oh yes, and the pump is working. So it turned out that the pump, because the extension was kind of on the short side, it pulled loose, which stands to reason because Bob tests these always before he ships them to you. So I see I've got schmutz on it already. Par for the course, and that's why it's on this towel, so I don't scratch up this beautiful cylinder. Time to time I will buff it and polish it because they're just so pretty. You want to hang it on a Christmas tree, don't you? Okay, tell me what movie that came from. You can see here how well the epoxy sculpt worked for creating, it's not pretty on this side, but it's certainly pretty on the inside, and it's very strong and very well attached and exactly fits our cylinder so perfectly. And these stops here, you can see the detail in here, which the grub screws sit on, so you have no chance of it rotating. So that's really good. Prop shaft is perfectly free now. There's no problems there. We're good to go. We're going to put the cylinder back in. So I've got much smoother up and down now, really easy to control, not too much, just really nice. I can go faster, but I don't really need to. We've got the controllers working fine, as you can see. So, and I've slowed down. We hardly have anything up here, just enough to sort of give it a little bit of down, which should be okay. I really need to play with possibly hooking that up to here so I could dial it which way I want it and take it off the automatic pitch control. So, but everything's working great. This is really working good. The speed control is running nice and quiet now. I do have that little bit of flex there, which this shaft is bent as it turns out, so I got a new piece of brass here which I'm going to put on. I may still put a dog bone in there, that may help, we'll see. But it's running pretty smooth right now, no problems, and no interference, everything's running nice and smooth. We don't want to heat up the bearing, so I'm going to shut that down. Our pump is working fine. So, we don't want to run it when it doesn't have water in it, but everything is working on this boat now, and this battery fits so well up here. I'm just going to put a little bit of epoxy sculpt up in there and make a little rest point for it, and that is it. This is a nice clean installation, and that's the way I like it. Okay, so you guys are probably wondering over here at Subcommittee, what's going on with the submarine? Enough of this Star Wars stuff. Well, you know, I gotta pay the bills. So, but this basically just needs to be preened. I need to fix the chips down here, do a little bit of filling in a couple of spots. I need to permanently glue this down and gap this down here. I need to go inside here and add the teak wood and the little seat that goes in there and line that with the wood. And I need to get rid of things like this where I dripped. I don't know if that's where I dripped or if that's in the casting. I'm not sure which. I do want to punch these up a bit. And then put a paint job on them. Next week is the week we're going to build our test tank, and that's basically going to be a 7 by 36 by about 3 feet across tank. So it'll be about as big as this table, about as high as this table, maybe a little thinner, and able to, but it'll be 7 feet long, so we'll be able to put the Type 7 in it to test it. Anything 7 feet and under. Well, back to the submarine. Like I said, I better get back to it because this guy can be in the water pretty darn soon. Now, what I want to fix is this, the chipped away here. And so what I'm going to do is take some painter's tape and put it along the very, very edge. Like so. Okay. And we're going to point that back up with some more putty. And do a little bit of this kind of all the way around because there's some spots here I don't like. Okay, I'm using the Evercoat that's for marine, and it's a finishing putty I got from West Marine local. It's a little harder to sand than Evercoat metal glaze, but I'll tell you one thing about this stuff, it's a heck of a lot more durable. It's a little cheaper too. And actually it's really not Evercoat, it's their brand, but I found out it's made by Evercoat for them. Now the great thing about it is marine material, so it absolutely is waterproof because it's for boats. And this is a boat, is it not? So we're going to kind of blend this off a little bit. It's really handy wearing gloves, isn't it? So this will be all cleaned up. This will set off very quickly. One of the things I'm going to have to do here though is I'm going to have to put back in seam lines and some of the rivets and stuff, and I think I'm going to wait until I get a coat of primer on this before I do that and see how that see how badly it's missing, because it's hard to see without the primer what's going on. So now this is right over the seam, of course, so very easily I'm just going to take this and run along the edge of the seam like so and kind of put it back like so. At least I know where it is, and when it separates it shouldn't break. So this is going to not take very long to set up. I ran out of their cream hardener, and it turns out that the Bondo cream hardener that you can get works exactly the same. It makes sense. It's all polyester 2-part material, and it works exactly the same. I didn't find any difference. It came in handy because I ran out of it and I had lots of Bondo cream hardener around here. So we're going to let that set up a bit, and then we're going to sand it, and that should make that all nice again. We're going to go around and check some of the other areas that need this and fill it in. In fact, one of the areas I want to get is the anchor area with this material, because there's a gap in there like to fill up. I think it's supposed to be filled, I'm not sure, but that's good. Really nice, in fact. Now, this stuff does sand way better than Bondo. I mean, so in case you're asking, why do I use Bondo? And of course, as many of you know, especially on the subcommittee, Bondo, for some reason, is not waterproof. Or not very waterproof. It will actually absorb water over time, so this shouldn't. Popsicle sticks are an amazing thing because you can make tools out of them at short notice, like that, and go like that, and get a very flat wall, which is what we want. Up here, I'm going to leave that slot open because that's where the ankle goes up inside. Okay, that looks a lot better. So, we still got a little bit of a dimpling effect going on here. I'm going to leave it because really, by the time this is painted and everything, it really doesn't show that much. I used to be a pretty fussy guy. I mean, to the point of driving myself absolutely crazy. I'm just not doing that anymore. Because, you know, after it's all said and done, it's painted and it's been used and banged into the edge of the pond several times and everything else. It all looks the same in the end. I mean, obviously I'm not going to leave huge indentations and problems, but, you know, a little bit of irregularity here and there, I'm going to leave. So, what I've done is this seam that goes between the top and the bottom here, on this side I closed it up again and screwed it down before I showed you, but that lip, you know, had some cottage cheese effects going on I didn't like, so I cleaned that all up and made that all sealed nice. I cleaned up this little jagged area down here, made this all clean. This is really nice and clean now along here, no more problems there. Opens and closes really easy. We get a good tight fit all the way around. I also secured this permanently now, and I've got it blended in, and I use putty to do that all the way around. We'll do a final sand tomorrow on that. And what I want to do now is look into putting a little bit of that teak in here, so I have to look at the plans and see about getting that in there. All right, a little bit more progress. I got the teak in, it's on both sides. I got the little bench in there. Bob told me there's a bench in there, and I could see it on the plans. I think the bench probably folded up and folded down, but you can see I got the teak on that side as well. So that's looking really neat. It's really cool to have the actual wood in there, and of course that wood prevented you from being stuck to the metal in the frigid cold, just like in A Christmas Story where the little boy got his tongue stuck to the lamp pole. So that pretty much completes the interior, except for some, I'm not sure if these things are supposed to be painted. I think these are vents, so I'm going to do a wash in there and just a few little things, but not a lot because we really don't know. There are no pictures of it inside here. I'm going to do some metal powders and stuff on with this part here, which is probably supposed to be springs. Just little nuances and weathering and stuff to make that look finished out. I have a few little pits and holes in there. I bet you the real thing had that. You know, because it was pounded metal and, well, who knows. But I'm going to clean up a little bit of it inside. Of course, this will all be cleaned up really nice as can be. Soon we'll be able to hook up our rigging once we get the paint on here. So, like I said, the only thing missing are the bumpers, which are going to be easy to do because Bob gave me the correct styrene for that, but for the actual bilge pumps, the bilge keels, I'm going to have to use one of two things. Either this very, very thick styrene here and double it up and shape that, or use this and put fiberglass cloth on it and resin. I'm not sure that that this is even going to be long enough. It amazingly is exactly the right length, and I do have more of this somewhere, so I think I can do this. I'll just have to cut it, stack it, and shape it. So it looks like we'll be probably using that as long as I have more of it. But either way, I've got to do the fender and the bilge keel. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. It's getting really late. I'm really punchy. I'm really tired. And we'll get back to this then. But the sub's really shaping up, and it's really looking nice. And I'm not quite sure why that did. Oh, I haven't tightened these down all the way yet. So I got that to do too. I also have to make a holder inside to hold the battery in position. But overall, the sub's looking pretty darn neat. So we'll work on that more tomorrow. All right, back to the submarine. We're putting on the styrene bumpers. I think that's what Bob refers to them as. The fender, in fact. And Bob gave me some nice styrene, just the right thickness and everything. I wish I had that for the bilge keel, which we're going to attempt to do next. But the nice thing about these is that they really kind of, if you have a little bit of a bad seam setting here, once this is in position, you're not aware of it anymore. It's pretty neat that those just happen to cover that up. And I just shaped this on the saw, on the flat sander, and got the shape. I just matched it to the plans. And a little primer on that, and we've got a nice match. So I'm very happy with that. I'm just kind of going around tidying up stuff. Got this whole sail blended in fairly well. Looks really good, nice and smooth, nice and clean. We're going to do the fender on the other side, and then we're going to do the bilge keel. So I got the bilge keel in, and you know, I was looking at the Gato, and since we don't see this underwater, the bilge keels on the Gato were actually not thick like this. This is a bumper, this is a keel, so it should be a keel. So I made it out of this very thick strip styrene rather than use the wood for obvious reasons, because once I realized that it's a keel and not a bumper, and I ran out of memory. But as you can see, I now have a bilge keel. All right, so I've got the bilge keel on this boat and the fender, so we are ready to stick a little primer on this, and that means we've got every single part on this boat. And there we go, bilge keel, fenders on, and tomorrow I'll put a little red putty on them after this primer dries. Again, this adds a lot of detail to the boat. Completely takes your eye away from the seam, although we are seeing this one a bit more. I don't know why this got wider. So that's as far as I can go for today on this. And of course, as you all recall, we got the bench in there, and most of the interior is done. We got the teak in there, which looks really, really great. This sub really is fabulous. A little bit of red primer tomorrow and sanding a few times. I want to get areas like this here. When you have dried out or almost dried out putty like this, don't throw it away, because when it's this thick, it's still very usable. You can trowel it into areas and smooth it over and immediately paint over it. This thing really is a beautiful model. The bilge keel and the fender really adds a great deal to this boat, I believe, because it needed those. It needed those very badly. Just fantastic. I cannot wait to get this to the lake. Now, over here, we have basically finished the paint job, and I've sealed all the rust and smears and stuff with some satin. The only problem with the satin is it's shiny, and it's not supposed to be shiny. It's supposed to be satin. So I'm going to use Dull on this next clear coat. and that should actually be a semi-gloss. This is what I found with Krylon products. It says right on it, satin, not gloss. Here we go. We're going to put matte finish on it. See? Matte. Matte. And watch. It'll look shiny. Really. Make sure that's dry. It is dry. Rosie, you're not going to like the smell of this. So I'll turn the fan on here. In a minute. Now, this is probably going to give me exactly the look I want, which is good. So this is just too shiny for a submarine. It looks like it's wet, which is okay, but it's just too glossy, and that's supposed to be satin. It still looks shiny, but when it dries, it will look less. However, keep in mind this is matte, and I don't mean Matt Thorpe. Hi, Matt. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one. This should be gold. And you can see it's still kind of shiny. We're going to turn the fan on for Rosie and for Stevie. Yeah, that does look better. We're going to come back and check this in a minute and see how it is after it dries. But it does definitely look less shiny. That's a heck of a lot better. Basically, the paint job's done for now. Probably after I run it and bash it and do other things to come back and do more work to it over time. Because after all, we all know in subcommittee that a submarine is always a work in progress, and they're never really done, are they? Well, maybe some of us are. I know Darren does a pretty good job of finishing them. But everyone else, keep on going. And Dave, I'm sorry, Big Dave, BD, it's a rust bucket. I know you like to have yours look like they just came out of the factory. I just can't do it. There it is. Well, you know, it's virtually, it's, for the most part, it's done. There are things I still want to do to it, and like I said, they're never finished. I think it was Jeff LaRue that was the first person that ever told me that submarines are always a work in progress. And that probably goes for the real ones as well. Well, technically speaking, this is a real submarine. It goes in the water. It goes forward, backwards, up, down, right, left. And the only thing it doesn't do is carry people inside of it. But other than that, it's a real submarine. It's just too small to get inside. So at least we like to think about it like that. This is, you know, a very expensive toy. So if it is a toy, it's a very expensive toy. But it's a very wonderful toy, and I really like the way it turned out. I did it very quickly. Yes, I know. You know, we do a lot of work here at the studio, and we have a lot of clients and stuff, so I had to do this in between the lines, and it still didn't take that long, which speaks volumes about OTWdesigns.com work. In particular, Bob Dimick. My friend Bob Dimick, who does wonderful, beautiful, unusual subs. And they just go together so easily, as you clearly saw in this build. Now, of course, we have to build a test tank, and then we're going to test this in the water, and then we're going to take it in April down to the lake and run it, and you're going to get to see it all happen. But this actually finishes basically the build. I've used this to disconnect this because this comes off. So I've got a fishing line hookup here for that. These may be changed in time when I get the real stuff or make stuff that looks more the part, but for now at least I have the rigging on. Nothing's coming off my hands anymore, so it means that the matte finish really did a good job. I am thrilled to death with this model. Thank you so much, Bob. Next step, let's test it in the tank, get it ballast, and take it to the lake. Okay, I know you guys on the subcommittee asked, am I going to put the numbers on the side of the sail? And of course I am. What I did is took that great photograph of the real thing, and I measured the conning tower, bridge, sail, whatever you like to call it, and matched it to the one over here, measured it up, then copied and pasted, got this to the right size, and printed it out. I did all this in Photoshop. So now all I gotta do is take this and cut this out as a stencil, and now I can spray through this as my stencil. So it was a little tricky. I had to cut out the stencil, as you see here, and I had to get it around the handrail. So what I did is I cut it straight through there, and I also used Elmer's glue to glue this down. It makes it a really nice stencil. Now I can just take the airbrush and airbrush this and pull this off, and to do the same thing for the other side. Well, a little bit of spray through the stencil. You can see I got this side done already, and it looks pretty much like what was on the real boat. It's a bit crude. I cruded it up because the actual thing is up close. You know, they must have been hand painted. I don't know if they even had air guns in these days. I suppose they did. But this works well, and then I go back in by hand. It seems to me there's a bit of shadow effect around it to make the letters sort of pop out. So I'm just going to go in and clean that up and add some more white with the brakes, and then put some black around it. So there we go. Looks pretty good, huh? And you know, about that engineer's vise that should go on the back, I'm going to look into that. I really am. I would like to see pictures close up of what the real one looked like, since the pictures that are available for this ship are so limited. We got R10 on this side as well, and it's done in the style that they did it, with the shadows around the letters, and it looks just right. So that really does kind of complete this boat off for now, although I do plan to do more, as always. This looks really good. We're going to go without the vise on the back until I get some better pictures and can get one made, and it'll go on when it can go on. And some of these boats had different attachments coming down from the riggings down to here and to here and that kind of thing. We may do that too, but the pictures of the R10 don't show that, so I think this is going to do it, at least for now. So look at that, we got a base. I made a base real quick. I have to finish off the felt with some more glue and stuff, but and trim it up. But for now, at least I could get the sub off that top heavy Robart stand and get it lower to earth. Plus it's just better for it all the way around, and great for working on, transporting, and eventually even display once I finish off the base. But for now it's good enough to hold the boat. Tomorrow we will put some epoxy putty inside, and we are in fact going to use some rubber bands to hold down the watertight compartment, and also to lock in the battery up here, and that's that. Hi, Mary came up with a brilliant idea to solve the problem of the test tank that would save us money, save us labor and time.
Well, show it to them.
I will. There it is. This is our test tank. Now, I don't know what size this one is, but it's made like this, and you blow it up and you put water in it, and it's a 6 by 20, so that means easily that boat right there, the Nautilus, will fit in there, so we can test that, and it's plenty big enough for the new submarine. And it was $33 delivered by
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime by April 3rd, and you can see it's nice quality. It doesn't have little kid drawings on it and stuff. Oh, it doesn't get bigger? Okay.
No, that's as big as it gets.
But that's gonna be our test tank. We're gonna fill it up with water in here, put the sub in, and there you go. And we're back to work here. And I've been picking at this because what I needed to do is put another support here, bearing shaft, for this prop shaft. Since I replaced the prop shaft, it's really quiet now, but I thought, you know, still I'm going to need this. So a little bit of 30-minute epoxy, micro balloons on their post, a brass sleeve in there. This is very, very smooth now. Additionally, I've corrected a problem we had with the rudders. They operate much better now, much smoother. I've got the die planes all level, and what I'm about to do is remove the cylinder here and clean up the inside and paint it all black. Put the battery holder in there, and we really, really, really are done, because we're going to have that test tank in a few days, and I want to get back to the X-Wing and finish off the paint job, but I really wanted to close up these few little details that have been bugging me first. So, testing the prop shaft. Let's see how we're doing now. We're a lot smoother now. Not shaking around as much. I'll do on reverse. That's reverse. I think we're looking really good. Additionally, you can see how much better the rudders are moving. They're equal on both sides, which they weren't before. So I think we have plenty of throw, because you can only go so far before you start to hit into here and keep them looking scale. Now just getting the trim right. Looks good. Really nice movement. And of course we got her up and down. And I really dampen the front planes so there's not very much movement in them. Really they should be used for trim only. I'm starting to really agree with Jeff on that, but I've got tiny little bit of movement in them. Not a lot. So compared to here. So we'll just see how it goes. It's not going to take much to make this boat dive, except putting water in here. One thing that really bugs me is when a sub like this has all these different colors and putties and things going on, and I just want it to look one color, and that's flat black inside. So I'm going to spray some of this stuff on there and paint it black. It just cleans it up, gets the edges the same color. It'll just be nicer to look at when it's open. Now, doesn't that look better? I think it does. I don't know. Some people don't do it. I like to do it. It just sort of finishes the whole boat off on the inside. And, you know, I like the way it looks on the inside too. I think this looks really nice now. It's very, very clean. All the hookups are nice. I got a nice little holder in there made out of epoxy, and I put some saran wrap around this, held it down with tape to hold the battery in, so the battery really can't go anywhere. But that little box down there you see made out of epoxy sculpt is going to hold it in better, so it doesn't like move around. Not that this thing's going to be doing aileron rolls or anything like that, but it does look really nice, and it holds it nice and tidy in place. The only thing I want to do is, I'm finding that the foam on top is not going to hold this down the way I want, so I'm going to put some epoxy sculpt on the inside with a couple pieces of brass that tomorrow I can use this to hook a rubber band to keep this from floating up. That finishes the sub. Absolutely, totally finishes it. The kiddie pool will be here soon, or the blow-up pool, and then we'll be able to do lead ballast on it. I don't think it's going to take a lot. We got this up front, so that's going to add a lot, maybe a little bit there and a little bit here and there, and maybe no foam at all. We'll see. But boy, is it nice. And the prop's really smooth now. I'm going to go ahead and put the epoxy sculpt and the brass sunk into that. Made hooks so I can rubber band this down and hold it down. And that finishes it until we get it in the water. The tank should be here, they tell me, what was it, the 3rd? Today's the 1st, so, oh boy, that's, wow, that's Thursday. So, and if we get it early enough, we'll fill it up with water. We're right over here in the middle of the shop. In case you want to launch a rocket from it. And put it right there, and we're going to do the testing, finally, and the Nautilus too. Okay, pretty simple stuff. This is an old trick you guys know about using rubber bands. I could even put a zip tie on this just for the day when you run it to hold this down, and you can hold down really tight. Now what I did is took epoxy sculpt, and I should have removed the cylinder. I didn't want to go through all that again, so I put the epoxy sculpt on the aluminum, which is bent with a T or an L down at the bottom so it can't pull out or up. This will be completely hard in the morning, and I'll be able to put the strap or rubber band or whatever I like over that. Hold this in firmly. This cannot turn because the way that these grub screws hit against this nice little groove of epoxy sculpt. And we don't have it on the side, we don't need it to, but we got the nice lip there, keeps it going front to back. This thing is in here really solid and is not going to move, and that's what we want. Likewise is the battery. Everything's finished off on the sub. There's really nothing else to do except strap it down and get it in the kiddie pool, the test pool, the test tank. That's right, test tank. That's what it is. Right. Okay, there she is, all back together. We're just waiting on getting our test tank and putting it in the water. That's what's next. We are going to test some submarines today, for sure. We're going to put the Nautilus and, of course, the R10 in this big pool. We're going to fill it up with water and get them tested, because this Saturday is when they'll be actually tested and run at the lake at Yorba Linda. So let's get busy. So first step, fill the ring with air. We did that using that. And we're going to fill up the tank pool from here. I got an adapter for that. Next step, put water in it. Mary read the instructions, didn't you, Mary?
I'm a girl.
Yes, girls read instructions. You hear that, guys? So we're filling water in it. There's a sump pump to drain it. And we're hoping it doesn't have any leaks, which they tell you to check for. As it turns out, those were for if you want a filtration system in it, which you can get. So you can actually keep this filled all the time to play with submarines anytime you want, and the water won't go bad. So the weight is on. It hasn't been that long. Few minutes, and it's filling up pretty fast. And then we're gonna get some submarines in here. I can't wait. It's really kind of exciting. I don't miss the pool I used to have. I would much rather do it this way, because working in the pool, you'd have to bend down to the ground and be level with the ground on your knees and lift them in and out of the pool. This is going to be a little easier. I'm about to put this in the water for the first time. If you look back here, Mary, you can see how much weight I put in there, and that's based on where the center of gravity is, taking the length of the submarine and going exactly at half. Actually, the center of gravity is back here. So the ballast tank's a little ahead of it. Bob, if you're watching, and I know you are, I needed this much weight to counterbalance that. So hopefully we're not going to need foam to get flotation. We'll see, but we're going to start somewhere. So the system is on. I'm going to close it up and drop it in its tank for the first time. Okay. Screw in it. I'm assuming nothing's going to leak, that everything's tight. I've tightened up all the grub screws. We still need to get more water in this, but at least at this point in time, I can tell if it's, wow, it's keeled real well. That's amazing. I just guessing. We're going to let it take on some water, and then we'll find out if we need foam, if it's going to hang its tail first, which it should do. As you can see, it just wants to keel over, literally. So we're going to need to get a lot more weight in the sub, and where it needs it is up front. Believe it or not, that big battery, we need to be about right there. As far as I can tell, we're not leaking at all. There's hardly any water in the ballast tank whatsoever. I'll take out another one of these sticks. We're going to take another one out from the front and bring the nose up more. I'm hoping to avoid using foam at all. Also, I'm going to, it's not, it'll lean a little bit, which it means it could have more weight and more foam in it. It wants to keel when I hit the power. It'll dive. If you listen carefully, you can hear the pump working. It's going down pretty, it's going down nose first. So I definitely need, there she goes, can flip to the bottom. She's on the bottom. I'll bring her back up. Here she comes. Coming butt first, so we need to get more foam in the nose. Okay, so we've got this balance just right, and I ran out of battery power, so you didn't get to see it, but I'm going to put it back in. I also killed the battery, so the pump's not working, and a few things aren't working, but I ran the pump so much, but you can see I can't move these with my fingers. They're just C8 in for now. They can't move, which means that she'll stay keeled properly. Eventually I'll put some silicone around these too, so they don't get knocked loose. They've got a battery holder up there, got this nice bar of foam in there. We got this piece of foam in here now, so it can't come out anymore, which is nice. And it clears the prop. Anyway, as I was saying, we got a foam in here, and this is sitting really well in the water, but I had to take some foam out of here, so I got to check it again. We got the battery system off. We know everything's working. We have no leaks. The cylinder works perfectly. Okay, so I got the top back on. We are sitting pretty. It should be sitting more about out of the water, and but I had to make a trade-off for the trim in the back on the bow, so she comes up at the same time. She doesn't come up tail first or bow first. I will push her down here a little bit. You'll see what I mean. If I let her up slow, because I'm out of juice, you'll see that she comes up pretty even now and sits up pretty nice. And I've got a little bit of, I could use more keel in this, but if I put any more keel in it and then offset it with more foam, I'm running out of room for foam. And then you're going to start seeing pink foam through these holes, which I don't want to have. So I think I'm right on the edge. When I was running it up, it didn't do this too much under power. So when I would turn on the prop, you know, if I ease it on, she'll be fine. But she's keeling well. She's sitting level. She's got, she's not deck awash by any means. It just needs to have the front sit a bit higher. If it sits higher, then the bow, the stern drops first. Now when it dives, it drops the front and the rear, and unfortunately I ran out of power in the battery to show you that, not on the camera but on the actual submarine. So but she is trimmed now. Weights are locked down. We have no leaks. This sub is ready to go. I do have to take the cylinder apart and service it and dry it, make sure it's all dry inside and that kind of stuff, but I think we're looking pretty darn good, and we've got a really nice trim on this boat. It seems to be good. I don't think she rocks too bad. They all do, but you know, if I just push her down, have her come up, she's staying pretty steady. So here we have the cylinder completely out. And if you look here, you'll see there's no moisture, no water, nothing inside the cylinder. Anything you're seeing here is just little crumbs and stuff, but there's no water inside here at all. That drops on the outside. There's nothing in this cylinder except the little bit that's left in the ballast tank. Now the battery's low, so the pump wasn't responding, the radio wasn't responding that well. So I let the battery sit for a minute and then turned it on, and it's fine just for a few seconds, but it was long enough to be able to pump this water out, which you're supposed to do. And it pumped it out, and when the sensor sensed that the water was gone, it shut down. So everything's working normally. I was a little concerned about the pump at first, but as it turns out, when you have low battery, as you all know, you people in radio controlled land, receivers work very strangely. So on low voltage, so everything's perfect. The cylinder's perfect. Everything's working good. We should be good to go on Saturday. These are glued in rather haphazardly, and the reason for that is because they have to go the way they go. That's where they want to sit exactly, and I had to even add this little piece of foam here and a little piece of wet lead there. There still may be more trimming done at the pond or at the lake once we get there, because the water at the lake will be different than this water. But she's keeled right, she's sitting right, and the worst I'd have to do is add a little bit of weight to the front, a little bit of weight to the back. All the hard stuff's done, and everything works perfectly. So we're going to move on, and we're going to go to the Nautilus next. Well, welcome to another edition of SNG, this time at the Hanson Dam Aquatic Center. This is a wonderful lake that I've been running boats at for years. And so we've driven all the way into town to finally get this R10 in the water and get some pictures, get some video. I don't expect it to be 100% trim, because doing it in the kiddie pool back home, we don't get to learn a lot. But we'll at least get it in the water, see what it can do, get some video, get some pictures. So let's go. Let's back it out in reverse.
Okay.
Before we dive it and get it out there as a way so you can get some good pictures.
Okay.
And some video.
I'm getting video now.
It needs to go lower in the water. It's in the bow. They can hear it now. You know it's diving when you see it going down. It's definitely diving. It's diving. It's got some air trap there, which we still need to get fixed. You can see that's diving. We got trapped air in the nose. There goes that air. And you can see we're clearly on the bottom. We're going to raise it back up a bit. Should we bring it back up, Mary?
I think we should.
I do not want to go out into that murky water with this expensive submarine, so we're going to bring it back up. A little bit at a time. Here it comes. We definitely need a bit more weight in the nose.
There it's up.
She's up, right on top, and plenty of deck. Freeboard. Because the rudder's really not that effective. I did is I dove it a bit. It just doesn't want to turn. I'm going to hit that sandbar over there no matter what I do, isn't it?
Yeah, I would
No, it's
stop.
turned it. It's turned it. It's going to make it. It's going to make it. It's going to miss the sandbar. Get some pictures, video, anything. It's going to make it. All right, reverse. Well, it's unladylike, but it does definitely dive. You need to get that trapped air out of the nose, but as you can see, I move it's on the bottom. It dives very, very well. No problems. Now we're going to bring it back up. Slowly. Back up. Not all the way, but getting there. Let's just stick a little bit of lead in the nose and see if that makes a difference. Still dropping some out. We got trapped air in there. It's on the bottom. You can actually go backwards. You can also go forwards. It's leveled on the water. Look at that. Don't have a lot of lake to play with. I'm going to back up. See if I can get it down a little deeper, get the periscopes under. Oh, we're coming back up. I must have lost radio signal for a minute because that is the fail-safe in operation, folks. And she's on the surface. So we got a little trimming issue still, but other than that, she's really working good. We got a lot of speed. Full throttle. As you can see it's hauling the nail. All right, we better slow down a little bit here. You know you I think my battery's getting low because she's taking her more time to dive now.